Hello and welcome to Ion Radio. I'm Ken, and along with me, special guest that had the fortune of playing round five, I believe it was, at Gen Con. And I may have mentioned this in our latest command stack. If you haven't watched that, go check it out because you should. It's awesome. But I have Kyle with me. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we got an opportunity. It was round five, right? The final one of the
Yes, yep,
GT.
last one of the tournament.
We had an opportunity to play together. We were matched up, and I think one of the neat things is we both had squadronless fleets, which I know for me was a mistake. How was that? We'll get to that in a second, but
Yep.
we had kind of a really great matchup, I thought, that wound up being everything from nail biting to every die roll in the last three rounds counted. It was tense, and I really enjoyed it.
Uh, Likewise, and I think you couldn't have described it any better. Literally, one hit roll here or there, an accuracy or a blank there, here or there, completely flipped the game. It was pretty intense, all the way through.
So before we get into that game, because we'll kind of talk about it one round at a time ish, and then get to the really meaty round four,
Yep.
which probably I will say this was some of the best Armada I think I've managed to play ever. And since you're around to tell people that yeah, I actually can dodged a few shots, I'll feel a little bit better about being able to say I'm not bad at the game. But,
No, you're
but
not. You definitely maneuvered very skillfully during the game. There were a couple times where I thought for sure I'd get a shot off here or there, but it's like, nope, you just snuck out of arc. So
we were playing games of millimeters, weren't we?
yes, yep. There were a couple times where lasers came out, range rulers came out. We measured probably two or three times each and confirmed it. But yeah, it was a very close game.
I think Dennis was called once or twice to make a few line of sight or in or out of arc checks.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Fortunately, though, he was very strategic in his placement. He sat right next to our table.
Yeah, I think he was curious to see how that game was going to go. It was clearly shaping up to be an interesting one.
Yeah,
But before we get into the game, let's talk about your experiences at Gen Con and the GT, and let's talk about your fleet.
yeah. Gen Con, that was the first time I actually went to Gen Con. I knew Gen
Really?
Con in general was a really big board game convention. I just never really understood the scope of it until I actually got there. It's massive. That is the second convention Armada tournament I played in. The first one was this past year, and I played in the last chance qualifier at Adepticon. Definitely a different feel at the GT. It was still really fun, competitive. And all the guys that came out and played there were great.
It was a good group. I think we had 14 of the original folks that signed up. We had one
Yep.
extra guy, I think that was Sam, that came in later to see was there a slot available. And then Luke, I believe, dropped out going into day two.
Yes.
He was doing well and decided, nah, let's even things up so that everyone gets a game. So it was definitely very kind of him to do. So hats off to Luke. So, Luke, if you're watching, thank you very much because I did not get the buy that first round.
No, that was me. I drew the bye the first round.
Or not the first round, but day two.
Oh, day two. Yes.
So I
Yep.
guess it'd be round four. Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. You were the lucky person to draw the buy round one.
Uh, yep. Yep. I got the bye. I'm pretty sure we did a head count. We're like, yep, everyone's here, and I looked at the guy's name I was supposed to get matched up against, and it's like crickets, not around here. So just kind of hung out. I wish I would able to, you go to the tournament, you want to play the game, but it was still cool. I was able to watch some matches, and you know that was fun too.
Cool. So let's talk about your fleet. You brought a Thrawn fleet.
I did a couple things with this fleet. I wanted to do Thrawn. He's probably my favorite character in Star Wars. I love him, and I wanted to build a fleet in general that was very anti of what I normally do. Generally, I'm very much a precise um, squadron player. I love playing squads in general, and I thought, what is more counter to that than to just do a squadless fleet? And I wanted to try and do a two ship. I wanted to try and do an ISD2 and a Kuat and make it work. And I struggled with it. I didn't do really well. And I said, well, it wasn't completely squadless to start. I had like a small screen of like TIE fighters that I wanted.
Mhm.
Couldn't make them work. I dropped them and threw in the Gladiator. Okay, cool. I still couldn't maneuver the ISD2 very well. So I said, well, what can I do to upgrade that? So let's try an onager. And I threw that in. I was like, oh, this is really good. And I was like, I just built a cog list. I wasn't intending that, but yeah, I guess that's what I got. So the Kuat is what I had Thrawn. I had Thrawn with ordnance experts, electronic countermeasures, point defense ion cannons, and external racks. And then with the Onager, I had Governor Price with veteran gunners, sensor teams, engine techs, and then the Red Beam for the ignition shot. And then Gladiator, classic demo, Demolisher title, X-Rax, Ordnance Expert, and engine techs.
What did you wind up having for objectives, and did you really ever get a chance to go second?
I didn't go second. My objectives I had were advanced gunnery. My thought with that was, do you really want to give the Kuat two front shots? So I thought that would be pretty fun to do if I could pull it off. Contested outposts, sit and farm some points if you want to come at me, which is fine with me. I like getting up close and personal with my fleet anyway. But the biggest weakness I got with my fleet is I only have three ships, so lack of deployment is or deployment is my weakness more or less. So I have Solar Corona to try and counter that, but I never used any of them. By first round, but then rounds 2, 3, and 4, I played surprise attack all three of them, which was okay. I got some practice with that, but having Thrawn definitely was a really good counter to that. So I was basically just able to discard my ship dials and use Thrawn anyway to be able to navigate.
So then you moved into kind of this ability where again, you're playing Thrawn, you're navigating, you're playing the same objective for 3 rounds,
Mm,
and then all of a sudden you get to me.
yeah. Yep.
And I remember like I think you won round 4, correct?
Yes. Yep. That was against Will, I believe.
Okay,
And
then
his fleet was kind of similar to mine, different admiral. I can't remember who he had, but that was another slugfest. But I was able to go first on that, and I think that was really to my benefit for that.
and then I also was coming off a win in that 4th round. So I think we were both feeling really good, like, hey, we got this. We're ready for another game, and let's try and score that win to end the game. So we are both coming in with well, you would have had what, 2 losses and a win, I think, because you had the bye.
I had the bye, and then my round two, my first match, I
Yeah,
played against Evan, which I think you played against your first round.
I did.
Yeah,
Yes,
Evan thrashed me. Evan's a great player.
he
I've played
is.
against him before down in Indy, and he knew exactly what he was doing with his list. The only thing that threw me off about it though was anytime I see Evan play, it's usually like a Ramadi Architons list. So seeing him as a rebel, I was like, man, something's off here, Evan. But he
The
was he was great. He knew exactly what he was doing. Great player.
the placement of his drops with Radis, that Liberty, were nuts. When I played him, he put it, you may have seen it, he literally put it in such a way where I could not turn my MC80. And, front of an MC80 home one versus front of of an MC80 Liberty is not a fair fight. So hats off to him because that was just incredible maneuvering. And just the placement he had was brilliant.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, hats off to him. Then how did your 3rd round go?
Third round, I played against Nick. He had a very well practiced Sloan list, and that was a really close game. There were probably two or three like critical um, points or rolls that happened, and all three of them went his way, and that was kind of the tell on that. I thought I had a really good shot at it, but
Mhm.
either round I think it was either round three or round four. He was able to eat my brace and my redirect on my onager, which was probably at like 95% health. And then with him being able to strip those tokens away, that was a very scared 95% health onager. Um, but yeah, that really turned it. Yeah, he got demo and he got my onager on that one. That really turned it. Another good opponent. Nick was great. We had a good time.
And there was some, like you mentioned, some really good quality players there of
Yep.
the group of about 16. And it was actually kind of fun that it wasn't a gigantic 40, 50, 60 person tournament because I felt like I got to actually interact with most, if not all, the participants this time through.
Yeah, same. It was cool going to Gen Con because the guys that showed up, I got to meet and I've never met. You for one. That was the first time I've ever met you. But also, I mean, I've never played against Will or Nick, so that was cool meeting them and interacting with them. Seeing Evan again was really cool. And Rob, hats off to Rob for winning the tournament. I actually met him at Adepticon this past year. He was my last opponent during the last chance qualifier, and that was another great game and
Mhm.
um, well played by him and great guy.
No, he is. I get a chance to spend some time with him and his son Royce. They play at our local store here in the Chicagoland area. They come down a ways to get out here because I think they live up in Wisconsin or closer to the
Yeah.
border. They're
Yep.
further north. But it's always fun. The good pair. I got to spend a little bit of time with them afterwards also, which was fun. And I know after our game, I said we need to do a recording of the game we're about to talk about
Yeah.
because I think after the first, probably after the second round, we're like, all right, next round's going to be where all the action is. Then it started actually happening.
Yeah.
And like the whole time, we were just all smiles with every move, every shot. It was incredible. So let's get into that.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So turn one, as I recall, I was second player, right? Uh,
Correct. Yep. I picked up your solar corona.
that's right. You picked up Solar Corona. And we got our ships out on the board. So I'm going to throw a couple things up on the screen for the people at home to see. But you know, you kind of had your center deployment. Makes sense. Solar Corona. I had my stuff off to the side with the Solar Corona off to the behind me, kind of hoping that you would roll a couple accuracies with that onager in the with red dice, and I could not worry about that. I think kind of the advantage you had, got a lot of black dice in your shots.
Yeah.
We moved on after round one, get to round two. You've got a couple onager shots. Now, here's where I think in round two is where the game started to actually become interesting. This is where I moved. You've got my forward MC 30 sitting there at the bottom of the screen. And I believe I dropped down to speed one, moved it, and I think I probably took a good 5 or 6 minutes to sit there and look at courses and drawing laser lines and everything else. And we moved forward, and I was what, like, you may have hit the corner of the plastic or you were just in front of it. I forget it specifically.
Yeah. I really thought you'd be moving up a little bit faster, but you slowed down, and I want to say I was just barely clipping plastic. It wasn't even
Yeah.
touching card.
So
Yeah,
it was
very, very close.
one of those really dumb close shots, and I think the MC80 was just far enough away to be out of extreme range.
Yes. Yep.
So no shots in round two. Got ourselves set up into round three. You know, ships just kind of coming. Now, this is where I saw, I think Demolisher got its first shots here. Because I think I had to move the MC80 in such a way to avoid the onager shot.
Yep.
You got your long range shot in with the Gladiator moved in. I think he got a close range shot too in that turn.
Yeah, I believe so. Um, I wanted to say I had to move up, and I jumped my speed up to 3 to be able to get that shot off. And I used engine checks to try and avoid your big side arc, but I was a hair short, and the next picture that you got there kind of shows the tail on that.
But as you got here though, you did position yourself in such a way where you were able to get that double arc in there. And you were able to go first. So you were able to punch in to that MC80 pretty hard. So moving into turn 4, because now here's where I think the fun of the game.
Where the fun begins, right?
Right, exactly. So you could see I've put my MC30 right in harm's way, sitting there right in the front, within close range of that Kuat. You've got your Gladiator sitting there right in front of my MC80, and I can tag you on the corner
Yep.
with it. Your Onager's sitting there behind. It has a clear long range shot in the MC30, and then I've got my two CR90s just kind of hanging out, but both of them pointing out, looking at your Kuat from the side at long range. So
Yes.
TRC, CR90s, and Akbar, nasty because I'm almost guaranteed to roll 4 or 5 hits.
Yep. Yep.
So, what do you remember from how that kind of began? Because, as I recall correctly, I think you started with your Gladiator.
Um, I was contemplating the way you maneuvered your MC30. Um, you really had me contemplating. Do I go with the Gladiator and try and keep it out of harm's way for getting blown up right now, or do I try and go with the Kuat and maybe put some damage into your MC30? Because if I didn't do that, MC30s are so slippery and really hard to pin down. So I figured this was probably my best shot on it. But I was really like ready to flip a coin. I couldn't make up my mind. But eventually I decided that the better option was probably to go with the Kuat and try and put some hard damage into that MC30 and make it hurt. And that's what I ended up doing.
All right, so I'm trying to remember, and I'm getting old and senile. I forget certain things, and the order of what we activated. And this is where I wish I would have either been filming it or had taken shots in between each activation. But such is, right?
Yeah. I ended up having to, like I said, I had to take some notes on this game, just so I could still try and remember everything that happened. But yeah, I had the Kuat that went first. I did quite a bit of damage to it, but I didn't really put enough into um, the MC30. I took off 4 shields off of your front, 3 off of your right side, and then I think 4. No, not 4. I think 3 may have gone through onto it because I think you were alive by,
I think what happened is because
what was it? No, I just ate all your shields. I think is what that
yeah,
happened.
if I remember, because you fired at the MC30, is
Yep.
what you decided because you wanted to kill it, and I think you wound up depleting every shield, and knocked out, because the MC30 had like 1 or 2 shields missing at that point. You cleared my shields out, advanced
Yeah.
projectors,
Yep. That's it.
and I think you had done 2 hull damage, and I think that's where there was a flip, an internal structural card, not structural damage, because then that would have definitely killed me off. And then you wound up ramming it,
Yeah.
to get in
I ended up
that third
ramming
point.
it with, yeah, I rammed it with the Kuat for that activation.
Right.
And then
So
you
that
followed suit with your MC30.
Right. MC30 was the next up. As I recall, I did a ton of damage to your Kuat. I know I took out your front shields. I was doing a bunch of internals in that shot, but that was the standard shot where I've got 2 red dice, 3 black dice. I have my Confire, so there's another black die. My Akbar, so there's 2 more reds,
Yep.
and external racks, so another 2 blacks. It was like 10 dice that I was rolling. And I don't think I needed ordnance experts on that shot. And if I did, it was only for one die. And I think I even risked trying to roll a single into something better.
Yeah. That shot you did some serious damage to me, and I felt so dumb after the game. I was kicking myself. I was like, "You dummy! You had electronic countermeasures, and you didn't even use it. Like, what are you doing?"
That's right. That's right.
So
Uh,
yeah, I you ate pretty much all the shields off my front and off of my side, and then 4 damage went through onto my Kua.
and that not enough to kill it, but enough to definitely make it sting.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
and then I think uh, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I was able to actually move my MC30 out of the way. Uh, and then I think I wound up did I ram
I thought you ended up actually ramming the
or the
MC80,
Gladiator?
the home one.
You're right, because of how I had to move. I didn't have, I had no good way to move out of that. Uh,
Right.
you're right. I think I did bump into myself, which made me feel really dumb because I killed myself doing that. You're right. So it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. I did not take as good a notes as you did. I took a bunch. Uh, but needless to say, we had the MC30 was off the list. You were hurting with the Kuat, and then you decided to activate the Gladiator next.
Yes. I ended up shooting out of my side into, I think I had a side shot
You did.
on your MC80. So I unloaded there and I dropped my X-Rax for that shot, I believe. Or maybe it was the one before. Either way, I was able to get my side shot off into the MC80 and put some damage onto it.
Mhm.
Just ate some shields. Nothing really went through there. And then with my rear shot, I was still close enough to throw a red and a black at your MC30. And all I needed to do was put 1 damage on it. And I whiffed both the black and the red
That's right.
blank.
That's right.
And then I ended up ordnance expert and re-rolled the black, and it was still a blank.
That's right. I think I still had because you wound up. Was it the onager that wound up moving to actually kill the MC30?
Yes, yep. The
That's right.
onager
I
ended
had
up
one
taking a
hull left.
shot. Yep, the
That's right.
onager ended up having a shot on your MC80. I took that, and then I charged up and rammed you with engine techs
That's
to
right.
kill the MC30.
You killed the MC30 on the ram.
Yep.
So it's only one damage that came in on the Kuat. You rammed it for two. I wound up ramming myself for the third one. Gladiator did no damage to the MiG-30. And then, if I recall correctly, you wound up maneuvering into the other side of my MC80.
Yeah. I ended up doing that, and I knew I wouldn't be able to stay in your front arc. I knew I would end up still being, no matter what I did for my speed changes, to still be in medium range and get the demo deleted off the table from your home one.
And then I activated that MC80 next, pulling what most folks say is impossible to do. I did manage to do an Akbar slash and took the Gladiator out, I think, on the next shot.
Yep.
Uh, and then I believe I killed off the Kuat on the other side.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And then I was feeling really good about that because I'm like, I still have all my ships. And I was able to move my MC80 at speed one because I think I had to slow it down for something. I might have been at two, but I didn't have a nav to kick in with engine techs. And I frankly I knew it wasn't going to matter anyways because you then had a rather powerful shot coming in at long range with that onager.
Yeah. I think we started into round 5 with this one. Oninger goes first and kills off home one. And I put a bunch of damage into your home one, but you just kept eating shield after shield on that. But I finally was able to take it down in round 5.
Yes, round five, you did take it out. I managed to position, of course, I'm trying to now take out a rather fresh onager with two CR90s, and I did not get an opportunity to fire either one prior to you taking out home one.
Yeah.
So your onager it was starting to hurt because I think I got a couple shots in at close range already and a few longer shots with the MC30 in earlier rounds. Uh,
Yep.
but you still had shields, you still had some health left, and then it wound up becoming like death by a thousand cuts as we
Yes.
got into those last two rounds. And here's where I think things started to get really tense because in round five, I'm thinking you're going to one shot these CR90s. I'm thinking I don't have a chance without Akbar to really take down your onager. Uh, I think the only advantage I had was that you would move first, and then I get to move mine to try and get out of your special firing arcs.
Yeah. Yep. Um, my onager was hurting more than I think you were calling for, because towards the end of round five, it was hurting pretty bad, and I needed to I needed to be able to one shot one of your healthy. Both were actually full health
Right,
CR90s, and if I didn't do that, I was for sure going to go down.
right. And if I recall correctly, you did one shot one of the CR90s.
I did. Yep. You know, prayed to the dice gods for good roll on that one, and I rolled exactly what I needed. I don't even think I needed a price on that initial roll. Um,
Right.
I got the two accuracies I needed, and then I got um, I wanted to say it was six damage was exactly what I needed, and I ended up getting it.
Yeah, and it deleted that CR90, and I sat there thinking, well, there goes my chances of potentially taking the onager down. But then, as I recall, I had one CR90 left to activate turn five,
Yep.
and actually did significant damage into your onager. Uh,
Yes.
and then it was really a matter of can I get a front shot into you? And the answer was no, because having an extra red die would have been awesome. But I also had them loaded up with confires, so it kind of helped. And
Yeah.
then a few dice were being rolled.
Yeah. Both your CR90s late in the game, you strictly put Confire just to do that extra damage that you needed, and it was hurting.
And we came close because at the end of round six, I believe I managed to successfully get my CR90 out of the way. So I think you had a shot out the side and maybe took a shield out, if anything. And your onager was down to two hull.
Yeah, I was down to two hull, little to no shields whatsoever, and um, after your maneuver going into round six, like you said, you were pretty much on my side arc, but you still had enough hull and shields on what I could shoot at that there was no way I was going to kill it. You
Right. I
you
think we
right out
called
of
it at round six because there was no way either one of us were going to destroy each other.
right. I think we just pretty much flipped our activations, moved
Yeah,
along, and then called it.
we did. Coming up with a final score of 245 for me and 345 for you. So 100 points margin of victory, which wound up winning you with a 7-4. So congratulations. That was a great game.
Thanks.
Uh,
Yes, it was definitely a great game. I don't think I ever had that much fun during a game, and I don't think our live stream really does the game justice for how intense and how exciting it was. Just being
no,
there in the moment and rolling those dice, and literally from round four all the way up until the end of five, it was literally a slugfest the entire way.
we were picking up dice and like you said, you were praying to the dice gods. I think each time we're looking at him like, please, we need you to roll this way. And there were very few blanks outside of the gladiator when it's trying to take out the MC30.
Oh man, yeah, that bummed me out big time. It's like all I need is one. I've got a red and a black and re-rolls. I can do it. No.
It came, it was just one of those things where it was constantly almost close. And then, for giggles, after the game was over, we started thinking, all right, if you didn't kill that CR90, would I have killed the Onager? And we actually rolled it out
We
and
did.
realized, no, I wouldn't have. I think I came, what, one shy of actually destroying you?
I think you came one shy of our end of game roll. And then
Yeah.
just for kicks too, I think we also rolled, well, if I was in your front arc for your onager, would you have been able to table me with your initial roll? So we did that too. And same thing, I got the exact roll that we needed
Yeah.
at the end of the game just for kicks.
Because you would have been it would have been turn seven, right?
Right. Yep.
Had I not been in there, and yeah, you would have taken me out there, um, which then would have changed the score. You would have gained another 55 points. It would have been 400 because I would have been a table. But like you said, two hits on the onager. Anywhere I get two more hits in there,
Yep.
we would have completely flipped that score, and it would have been a 7-4 in my way.
Yep.
Which this is one of those constant stories that's always coming up in Star Wars Armada. The final tournament score does not always tell the story of how close a game really is.
It really doesn't. I've had plenty of games where, either I was on the receiving end of, like a 9-2 or whatever, and I've been on the opposite end of, being the one getting a 9.
Mhm.
And at the end of this like day, when you go back and think about it, in that moment, if, this one roll didn't go that way, or hey, if I was just able to, skirt past that asteroid field that gave me an extra structural damage, simple things like that. Like it really does flip it on its head. Those critical moments can really flip a game.
Oh, easily. And as I recall, our game, you did pull a structural damage, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. And I think the crit on the MC30 was actually a projector misaligned. And I think that just took out the last two shields, which didn't matter anyways.
No, it was on the opposite side.
Yeah. Again, a couple of crits were pulled, not many, as I recall. It was predominantly all straight hits. Uh,
Mostly, yeah. Yep.
and when it was a crit, it didn't matter because we were rolling crits and ships were being removed from the board.
Yeah.
But again, a really intense game. And you're right. Us talking about it sounds a lot more boring than it really
Yeah.
is. But I know some of the highlights for me of that game. I had two. That really powerful MC30 shot and not dying by the hand of the gladiator was like that was cool. Uh, and it was the second time ever where I've played Akbar where I managed to successfully pull off the Akbar slash, firing out at both sides. This time I actually did it with an MC80. So that as soon as I did that, I think I actually said, I'm good. I don't care if I win or lose. I accomplished my strategic goal here.
You definitely got that into. Yeah, that was an excellent match. I loved it, and I it's definitely one I will be remembering.
And now it's somewhat immortalized in film with a couple things. So we can look back at this in years past and have a good chuckle about it. Because I'm sure you'll be going to other tournaments and whatnot. And I'm guessing you're going to make a trip out to Worlds next year.
I'm planning on going to Worlds. I'm in West Michigan. We don't have a huge scene around here.
Mhm.
Usually the tournaments that I do see are, or were, I should say, down in Indianapolis, but I don't think those will be coming up anymore, sadly. Those were really fun.
Mhm.
Um, but I have no problem traveling regionally just to go to a tournament, just to have some fun. So
So, Kyle, again, hopefully we get an opportunity to play another game because this was a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that it's just as enjoyable, maybe not as nail biting. I don't know that my fingers can handle that.
I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'd do another one of those anytime.
Well, I wanted to thank you again for coming out on the channel. I think one of the best things about this is that rather than just, folks hearing from the normal personalities, and you are definitely one of the members of the community, and it's great to get more voices in here because Armada's all about the great player community. And you've been a great player, and you were definitely a great opponent. And again, it's the game we had. We keep saying how much fun it was. But it was, again, one of those more unique games where it was just tense and enjoyable. So thank you so much for coming on the channel and talking to me about our game.
Uh, Thank you for the invite, and likewise, the game was fantastic. You yourself, you're a great opponent. I wish you didn't nab so dang good, and I could have gotten some better shots off. But there's that's something else. But I think you hit the nail on the head though with the community. I mean, we play the game to play the game, and it's fun. That's why we enjoy it. But I think um, equal to, if not even more so, is the community itself and the people that you play with is um, another big component of why we play the game. And all the guys that were at Gen Con were fantastic. It felt like we had our own group over there. I mean, despite all the you know thousands of people coming around, it was our own community, and it was great.
Well, I'm sorry that no one prepped you up for the insanity of my ability to navigate ships. Uh, but I'm gonna guess you had a couple good players prepping you up for Gen Con.
I did, and I'd like to give a shout out to two of them that I play Armada with fairly regularly. Both of those guys were able to help me play test and give me some practice runs in. So, Tom, thanks to you, and also to Austin as well.
All right, well, Tom and Austin, try naving a little bit more with MC30s. Kyle does not like that, and it irritates him a little bit. It's a lot of fun, but my guess, Kyle, you are now prepared for that, and you're not going to fall into that kind of shenanigans.
I probably will. Like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment.
Well, yeah, so am I. And if anyone is questioning that, watch more of our Ion Radio videos and see what John does to me week to week. But anyways, again, thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to throw up a like and subscribe to the channel. And here's kind of the question of the day. Have you guys at home had a fun game that, kind of falls into what Kyle and I were talking about in terms of like crazy dice rolls, nail biting situations, insanity of millimeters in terms of almost bumping into something or staying out of arc, or you just can't roll those black dice because you're still in medium range. Throw down your stories in the comments. I know I would love to read them. And then just, hey, let's share some of our experiences because that's fun. So until next time, everyone, I'm Ken,
I'm Kyle.
and you've been listening to Ion Radio.